Now you can able to see. And so first let's discuss about the what is HANA database. Even though we are functional, so let's have some idea about technically what is the HANA database, when SAP has invented this HANA database and how it is working, and then what is the S4 HANA enterprise management. Then we are talking different things about finance, whether it is a simple finance or S4 HANA finance. So different terms are there. So what does it mean? What is the difference? Or what is the evolution of S4 HANA finance? And within this we have different versions. And current version is S4 HANA finance 2020. So what are the previous versions and how it is evolved and what is the current status where we are at present with respect to S4 HANA finance. And then what is the deployment options to deploy the S4 HANA solutions into the business organization and how we are going to use, or what are the implementation methodologies or options available to adopt this S4 HANA finance new enterprise management version, or we can say new version of SAP in layman language. And then what are the differences with respect to finance, ECC and S4 HANA, or what are the new developments adopted in S4 HANA finance. And then further we can discuss actually what is the S4 HANA finance content, and we can enter into the system and we'll see practically the S4 HANA finance. More or less it's similar to your ECC wherever you are working on the at present in ECC version 6.0. Technically at a data modeling level and application level and business process level also few changes are carried out by the SAP in S4 HANA finance. Whenever we are doing practically, so we will focus mostly wherever there is a change with respect to ECC. So there we will concentrate more and stretch that and explain what is the new content in S4 HANA finance. The remaining thing you know already that how it is working in ECC 6.0. In the same way, the functionality wise or business process wise, it will work in the same way, but certain things will be changed. So on that we'll focus more. And also coming to controlling, we will focus majorly on the product costing and profitability analysis, which we doesn't cover in earlier sessions if you are already existing student. So even though the product costing doesn't change much in the S4 HANA finance with compared to ECC, but we will focus on that completely, material ledger and as well as profitability analysis. Okay, so in this way our course journey will happen. And first let us see what is the HANA database, the technically to know certain things before really we are entering into S4 HANA finance. Okay. So basically, this HANA stands for High Performance Analytical Appliance. At present, if we are working on ECC 6 version, this we are calling it as SAP R3. We know R means real time and the 3 means this is a 3-tier architecture, right? Or we are saying this is a 3-layer technology. And in this we have 3 servers. The first one is presentation server. And second one we have application server. And third one is the database server. The presentation server we are using as a GUI, which is taking input data from the user, and after processing the data the result is giving as a output to the user. The application server is using to process your data. So all processing is happening at application server level. The main focus or the main aim, the main work of the application server is to process your data. The complete ABAP code is lying at this server level. Or all processing are happening at the application server level. And database server we are using to store the data. That means the main purpose of database server is to keep the data for the future purpose, and it is only storing. Now here the ABAP code at application server level, whatever we have, this is developed by SAP. But the database server SAP doesn't have, it is using its competitor or other company, Oracle or some other database. It doesn't have its own database. We saw in SAP R3 also ECC 6.0 earlier, we have version ECC 5.0, 4.6c, 4.6b. That means the SAP is doing keep on R&D. Whenever there is a major changes happens in the technology, or it's keep on doing R&D and changing its business application to provide better solutions to their customers, means to the SAP customers. That means to the business organization who have implemented SAP, for them to provide better solutions. Keep on, it's doing R&D and it's changing its application, or it's developing the application and releasing with new versions. If they want to adapt some new things, they feel that the Oracle or whatever other database they are using, that is not comfortable for them, it is not completely supporting, or Oracle database is not changed according to SAP application code, then in 2005 SAP started to research and to innovate new database itself. That means to innovate, to find out a separate database by themselves. SAP started to do R&D from 2005 onwards. And then first time in 2011, then SAP released into the market the HANA database. It's only a database. It doesn't change anything as SAP application. That means your SAP R3, ECC 6.0, whatever we are using today, the same it is there. Instead of Oracle, they tried, can I use my own database? Yes, they started R&D from 2005 onwards. In 2011, they come up that we have my own database, which is called as Hana database. The name is High Performance Analytical Appliance, and this they called it as a in-memory database. At that time, in 2011, it's not a complete database. It's just it is working as an accelerator. That means there should be a database. For that database, this HANA database will work as an accelerator. Suppose if I remove in 2011 this Oracle database, and if I keep HANA, then SAP will not work. HANA at that time, it doesn't have capability to handle the complete business application processing. It can work only as an accelerator. That means it will improve the current database performance. So, or in another terms, this we can call it as a sidecar approach. There should be a main car. For that, this will work as to provide additional help. What will happen if you put as an accelerator this HANA database? The performance will increase wherever we have, for example, COPA reports, huge data load. At that time, if you have an accelerator, this sidecar approach, then the report you can extract very fastly in less time. The performance is improved with this sidecar approach. Okay. Next, in 2012, this HANA database, again some more changes they did and it improved. Now in 2001, it's a complete database. Means it's not only accelerator, it can handle completely a particular application. But this they doesn't use for SAP application, and they used for data BW server. In the same way, how we have ECC system for posting transactions every day, regular business transaction means purchases, sales, payments, receipts, whatever we are doing. So these business transactions to record in your system, we are using SAP R3. Right? But to take reports, this in another terms we can call it as a analytical processing. Here, so analytical means it's a reporting. For reporting purpose, we have another system which is called BW, Business Warehouse or BI, Business Information System. Earlier, what we are doing, or if at present also the company, if they are not using S4 HANA Finance, they are using SAP R3 system, and every day regular business transactions you are posting, and the data, yesterday data, today it will be transferred to the BW system. From BW server, you are extracting the reports however you want. That means all the reporting, major reporting will happen in BW system. Here, few reports you are taking from the SAP also. You are developing maybe some custom reports with the ABAPers or some standard reports that you are taking from SAP R3 also. But huge data, if you are extracting again and again from the same server, the more burden on the server, and for regular day-to-day transactions also the system will become slow. The performance is not good. That's why the most of the data, if you feel the report is fetching those type of reports, we are suggesting to the client take from the BW system, and the data you are transferring every day to the BW system means today you transferred yesterday data, and tomorrow we will transfer the today's data. That means always here you have minus one data. Sorry, one day we don't have. Today data we don't have. One day data is not available. Minus one data up to minus one day. That data only is available in the BW system, and from there we are taking reports. Now in 2011, for BW also we have database server. This database server can be replaced and we can keep the Hana server or Hana database. That means BW system can work only by using Hana database, and this SAP will called as SAP BW powered by Hana. So what does it mean powered by Hana? They are using the server as Hana database, not the traditional server which they are using earlier. Okay. And then keep on, SAP is doing research, and then in 2013 again they made some modifications. Now this Hana database server can be used for the ECC system also. Now wherever we have Oracle, now this can be replaced by Hana. At present Oracle we have, so this you remove Oracle and completely you can replace with Hana database. This is called in 2013 SAP Business Suite powered by Hana. What does it mean? SAP Business Suite is using Hana database server, not Oracle. So why here we are saying SAP Business Suite? Here we use the terminology SAP R3 or ECC6. So ECC6 is a part of a larger family. Means you have a complete larger family or a big picture. Out of that, this SAP R3 ECC6 is one component. That means the SAP has a complete solution to the business organization. Multiple lines of business. This is called SAP Business Suite at that time. But most of the guys has not used this word, or we don't aware, or we already only we focused on the SAP R3 only or ECC6. SAP Business Suite is a complete solution, business solution provided or providing by SAP system at that time. It contains multiple lines of business. Within that, ECC 6.0 is one part, a small part. Along that, we have SAP CRM, SAP SRM, customer relationship management, supplier relationship management, BW, like that. So many other things are there. Completely all these things, if a company is using, or in your company, assume you implemented all the solutions, all the lines of business, then that we will call it as a SAP Business Suite. That's why SAP is using word SAP Suite powered by Hana. We are not calling it as a ECC6 or SAP R3 powered by Hana. It will be used as a SAP Business Suite powered by Hana. That means Hana database server has a capacity to handle completely your business application. The same ECC 6.0 at present, whatever we are using, same business process, same functionality. But at backend, you are storing your data in the Oracle, but now you will store in the Hana database. Simple question, why we need to replace it? SAP is saying that if you use Hana database, your performance is good compared to Oracle, compared to traditional database, in simple terms. But if you want to see detailedly, why we need to go for Hana database instead of Oracle, whatever I am using. right? So at that time, 2013, then not only the performance is increased, we have so many other factors. What is HANA database server, right? So this HANA database server, if you are using, it has a capability to process the data OLAP and also OLTP, or we can say OLTP and also OLAP. What is this OLTP? OLTP means, as I explained earlier, it's a online transactional processing. Whatever you are posting daily, regular business transactions, you are creating purchase orders, sales orders, payments, receipts, regular business transactions. So this you want to post, and it should be processed and store the data. Yes, that is happening in Oracle. Today we are posting so many business transactions. Same thing here also you can do it. Fine. But what is the additional thing it has, HANA? Then it has capacity to process OLAP also. What does it mean? That is online analytical processing. In simple terms, in layman language, you can say reporting. Are you taking reporting at present? You can say simple reports you are taking. But to take complete report, we are using another server, BW. This BW has a capacity of OLAP. That means for OLTP we are using separate server. For OLAP we are using separate server at present. But if you go for with HANA database, what SAP is saying, you can process OLTP and OLAP both from the HANA database server. So from here itself I can take reports. Here itself I can post the data. From the same server I can take the reports, and also I can post my daily regular business transaction. From the same tables I can extract the reports. I no need to transfer to again BW system now. I no need to maintain one more server. That is the benefit or advantage or the difference with respect to your traditional database and HANA database. Okay, so you can see in the picture here, this is the traditional database. We need to post in one server. So this server is nothing but Oracle Azure, your transaction, online transactional processing. Every day we need to extract, transfer and load into different server, and from that server we need to extract the reports. Right? But if you go for HANA, this will serve for both purposes, OLAP as well as OLTP. So here you can see in this picture, you can get idea. This is the traditional approach. You can say this is the current approach. You can see here the screen. We are posting the regular day-to-day business transactions every day by the end user. Online transactional processing. At the end of the day, at midnight, right? So or today, yesterday data will be transferred to the OLAP system. This is happening every day through batches. From here, we are taking the reports, online analytical processing. But now you go for HANA database, then what will happen? We will combine both OLAP plus OLTP, post the transactions and store in this database. From the same database, you take the report. Right? So now the difference for the business, what will be the value addition? One is you no need to transfer. The complexity will be reduced infrastructure wise. The business organization will get benefit. You no need to maintain one more server, no need to maintain one more system. And also here, whatever the reports you are taking, it is lacking one day data. So today you are extracting report, but whatever you, for example, assume today evening you extracted report. Today whatever you posted data, that is not available in this report. The report is showing yesterday information. If something key values are changed today, That means your report is giving you wrong picture. If it is giving wrong picture, the decision, whatever you are taking, it might not be right decision. So if you are taking wrong decision, the business is going in a wrong direction. At the end, you may get bad results, not the good results. So here the advantage is whenever you are taking from the same server report, it is in real time, up to date, the report you are getting. That means in the report, whatever you are getting information is up to this minute, up to this second, and exact information, correct information. Based on this report, if you are taking a decision, it is not a wrong decision, this is the right decision, or you can say you are taking the decision based on the correct data, up to date data, and it can lead to the business to take right decisions and to carry forward in the right approach. So that is the one of the major advantage if you go with the HANA database server. But at present situation, our application code, the ABAP code will be same, nothing is changed, right? Only we are talking about the database server. So this is the major difference where OLTP and OLAP you have. Okay, so this is the same feature again. If it is a traditional, we need to transfer and then go to another server. Here you maintain like BW, you need to replication, and you need to maintain multiple copies of the data. That means here assume you have 100 GB data, the same 100 GB data again I need to transfer. Here you need to maintain one server, here you need to maintain one server. So every time you need to batch processing, you need to do every day, and it is going to the more cost for the service or for the business organization. And also after spending much cost and much time and much efforts, you are not getting real time data. It's -1 day data is lacking. So here it is only one copy of data, one server you are maintaining, and you no need to extract and transfer and load every time. No batch processing is required, and immediately you are getting the live data. The same thing this slide also talking about. Okay. And the second one, what the technically this HANA database is doing, they are using in SAP HANA database multi-core processors. What SAP is saying today, because of digitization, because of technological improvements, the hardware cost has been reduced significantly compared to your 10 years back or 15 years back. So in HANA database, this SAP is using multi-core processors with hardware point of view. At present database, the traditional database has less processors, but this HANA database is using multi-core processors. And with this, what will happen? You can achieve parallelism of tasks. That means parallelly you can process multiple tasks at the same time. Then the data also is not locked, because one process is happening, the data is using, another process also using same data, but the managed, the data will not be locked, and you can perform parallelism of tasks. Then automatically what will happen? You can perform so many actions within the less time. That means performance is improved drastically by using multi-core processor and by following parallelism of tasks in HANA database. That's why we are saying if you use HANA database, your performance is improved compared to your traditional database, because the HANA database is using multi-core processor. Thus, it's leading to perform parallelism of tasks in parallel. Simultaneously, multiple tasks can be performed and without locking data. That means in less time, you can complete your processing of application code in very less time, and thus your performance is improved. So this is one of the reason why the performance is improved if I use HANA database, because it is using multi-core processors. And another thing, we told the first itself, HANA database, SAP is saying that my HANA database is a in-memory database, the first word. So this HANA database is using, or we can call it as in-memory database. Why we will call it as a in-memory database? Here you can see this cache memory or RAM, we will call it as. For this, they are using the more size, more capacity. Because of multi-core processors that we saw, parallelism of task is performed and the performance is improved. And also, from the hardware point of view, it is using less RAM or less cache memory. And then you have main memory. Here also in HANA database, same like traditional database, you have a disk main memory, but the RAM, the cache memory capacity is more. It is using huge memory. With this, what will happen? The entire your business organization data, whatever you are posting daily, is stored in the cache memory or in the RAM, in the memory itself. To understand in the layman language, for example, assume here you have 1 GB capacity and remaining 1000 GB capacity you have disk. So only 1 GB will be stored here, remaining everything will going and storing in the disk in your main memory. But here itself, the RAM, the cache memory, the HANA is using, assume here 100 GB itself. And here of course same like 1000 GB you have. So here you are storing only 1 GB, but here what is happening? The 100 GB data is stored in the cache memory itself. This is CPU. Whenever CPU sending the data, that is storing in the cache memory RAM itself without going to the main memory. All the data is available here itself. Again, whenever you pull the report, the data is not coming from the main memory. It is coming from the cache memory RAM itself. Here itself it is there. But in traditional database, your data is storing in this place from disk. So whenever you execute here report, the data is there in the main memory. Here, the disk will spin, it rotate. For example, to understand, if you put your CD in your CD player in that, how it is the rotate the CD. So like that, the main memory will be, the disk will be spinning. It is rotating, and then the data will come to the cache memory, and then from here again it will be come to your CPU. From this place to this place, the data is traveling whenever you execute report. The data journey is taking more time, but here the disk is not rotating because the data is available in the cache memory itself. From here, the data is coming into the CPU whenever you extract the report. So here the data journey time is very less. This is one of the additional reason why the performance is good in case of HANA database. This picture will give you idea. So here this is constantly swapping, constantly rotating, this is spinning, and then you have less memory. The data is also very less, but here the total complete data is available. So how much data can be available? You can say normally for the average business organization, 2-3 years of data. Not only one day, you are posting daily business transactions, right? Like that 1 year you posted, 2 years or 3 years you posted, that data, complete 3 years of data is available in the cache memory itself, not in the main memory. So that much capacity they increased SAP hardware wise as well as the data wise. It can be stored in the cache memory RAM itself, and from there itself you are taking the data into the CPU, and the data traveling time from main disk to the cache memory, from that again to CPU, this data journey has been reduced completely. This we can say in technical terms, whenever you read about SAP HANA database, it will say that the latency has been reduced with the HANA database. So only this statement will give SAP. SAP will say if you use my HANA database, the latency has been reduced. Latency means the time or the time gap between stimulation and response. That means for some object, for some to get some reaction, you did some action, right? For that, the object is giving you reaction. For example, something, one object you touched to get back to with some action, and you did some key or you touched that object, then after 2 minutes it's responded. So here this is the 2 minutes time. What SAP is saying, if you use HANA, or in another terms, you understand in our SAP wise, in traditional database, you asked or you executed one report, then after 2 minutes you got the output. That means between execution time and getting the output, what is the gap? You have 2 minutes. But the same, if you go with HANA database and you execute report and you got the output only with 1 minute. Now here the time gap in traditional database it is a 2 minute, but in HANA database it is only 1 minute. So this we are saying latency has been reduced. How it is reduced means this is the reason. Here the data journey time is more, but in HANA its data journey time is less because all the data is stored in the cache memory itself, in the RAM itself. From there itself it is coming to CPU. But here in traditional database, the disk need to be rotated, it is spinning, and then the data is coming to your cache memory, and from there again it need to come to CPU. So here the latency is more, the delay is more, but here latency is less. And another one, the database server is doing only storing the data in your traditional database. It doesn't do any other work. But in case of HANA database, the database server also performs application processing. So whenever you post data or whenever you extract report or whenever you are posting some data, what will happen? Whenever you input into presentation server, that will send to the application server, and at application server level, all the data will be processed. Means the complete processing of data is the responsibility of application server. Presentation server is not taking any responsibility. Database server is not taking any responsibility. Whether it is a complex or it is so much time it is taking, that everything the responsibility of application server. It has to do complete work. The load is more in the application server, and after that the result, if application server sent to database server, this database server will accept the data and it will store the data permanently. If someone asks the report, again, however it is stored, the same data, I am not expecting the same data as a report. I want a summary. For example, in BSEC table you have line items, right? So many. For GL account you have posted 1,000 documents. 1,000 line items are there. But I asked what is the total value. Then in the database server you have 1,000 line items. The database server will not submit and it will send the total figure. It will send 1,000 line items to the application server as it is. Then application server again need to sum those 1,000 line items and it will give you the total figure here. So this server doesn't do anything. But here HANA database server, it will process the application processing also. The database server is used not only for storing the data dedicatedly, Beyond that, it is stretching its boundaries and it is doing the application processing. Means here, previously, whatever that complete work is done by application server, assume 100% of work is doing by the application server. Now, out of that application server, 50% of the work will be taken care by the database server. Now, database server is taking 50% of the work. It is sharing. Database server is saying, I am free, I have a capacity, give me some work, I will do it. So whenever you extract report here, the 1,000 line items, the database server doesn't send 1,000 line items, so you take it as a raw data. It will say, I know you are asking the total summarization, the 1,000 line items, it will submit, and that only the direct summary figure, the total figure, it will send it to the application server. Now for application server, the load is less, the burden is reduced, then it can do some other work and then immediately send it to the presentation server. Right? So we are saying Hana is a database server, but it is not only for database storing. It is doing some additional works also. That is application processing. In some of the applications, though, SAP is saying that daily we can go, no need to go like this three-tier architecture. Right? Three-tier architecture means three servers. Presentation server, application server, database server. Do the processing application, store the data. It is saying we can go with two-tier architecture also. Means presentation server and database server. Then what about application server? That is will be done by taken care by database server itself. Okay, so that you can see in the figure, you can understand. Here in this figure, the presentation server is not there. So this box will representing your application server and this box is representing database server. This part will tell you the load of the work or the capacity of the work, who is doing more work, who is doing less work. This is the classical approach, at present the traditional approach. Here you can see this is more, means application server is doing more work and database server is doing less work. But if you use HANA database or HANA server, then how the workload between application server and database server? The database server is doing more work and application server is doing less work. That means the real work, the real business process, the real complicated, real logical processing, or real the business process code will be executed by the application server. The summary or subtractions, multiple, all the remaining calculations, all the remaining processings will be processed by the database server itself. Okay, so this is the one more advantage if you use HANA database. So with this, the application server load will be reduced and that will be shared by the database server. This is one of the additional feature in the HANA database server. That's why SAP is saying that instead of using traditional database, you use the HANA database. And another thing, simplified data model. In HANA database, the data modeling is simplified. You can means by using tables, you need to process the data or how you are storing the data in tables. All these things technically we are calling it as at high level, it is a data modeling. So this data modeling has been simplified in the HANA database. Earlier in traditional database, the data modeling is there, but we are saying compared to HANA database, the traditional database data modeling is a hierarchical model. Or this is complex, but whereas in HANA it is a simple. Why it is complex in a present database? You can see in this picture. So this part will represent your database tables, and these database tables will provide raw data. On top of database tables, here in the traditional approach, on top of database tables, we have aggregate tables. To understand what does aggregate table means, you can say total tables. For example, to understand from FICO point of view, your database table is nothing but BSEG. Here you have line item table. For that, what is the aggregate table we have? GLT0. Is it the same data or different? Is it the same? Here you have line item information. For example, 10 line items, 1000, 1000, 1000. 10,000 is 10,000, right? So the 10,000 will be updated in GLT0. If you post one more 1000 in BSEC table, one more line item, then this 10,000 will be changed to 11,000. That means in real time, what SAP is doing, here it is maintaining line item information, and the same line item information it will make it sum and it will update in the GLT0 table. So this is aggregate table. And also we have index tables. What is the index table? Index table is created on top of database table. Generally, index table will be created with lesser fields or lesser columns to understand, you can say. For example, in BSEC table, how many columns you have? Maybe 200 columns. But for that, if you create an index table, we don't create that many 200 columns, maybe 5 or 10 columns. And that will be in sorted. The data is arranged in a sorted way. Whenever we want to extract data or fetch the data for any custom report or some purpose, instead of hitting database table, first we will hit index table because the performance will be less, or the data can be fetched more if you go in the sorted way, less columns table, that is index table, and then with that we will hit that database table. That means we have database table, we have aggregate table, we have index table. Within the on top of index table, again maybe index table. For that, again if you have more columns for so on reason, again for that one more index table, one more aggregate table. So in that way we have so many tables. And if you are posting one transaction, that is go and update BSEC, then immediately this GLT0 need to be updated with the total figure. Again this index table need to be updated, again one more index table. So to update all these tables, the code also you need to have more code, and which is complex. But in HANA database, we don't have aggregate tables. We don't have index tables, only database tables. Then you can get a doubt that here in GLT0 you have the total value. Whenever I want GL account to total balance, then I am directly taking GLT0. But here we don't have total table, only database table. Maybe in one table I have 1000 line items. Now I want total figure. How can I get it? Here in traditional database table already there is a total figure is there that I am taking. But here you have 1000 line items and now I want a total figure. Then by seeing that, this you can say very less time you can get it. But here you don't have total table. Whenever I asked at that time you need to do total. Here it may be more time it will do, but opposite to that. Even though here it is ready-made available total, you are getting more time. Here you are getting less time. What SAP is saying that in HANA database, you can get totals or aggregates, or it can total on demand, on fly, in sub-seconds. Or we can say we can get aggregates. This is the statement given by SAP itself. We can get totals or aggregates on demand, on fly, in sub-second if you are using HANA database server. On demand means It is not making totals and keeping ready-made every day. Whenever you ask, at that time only it will make the total. And the database table, how many line items you have? 1000 you need to extract and total. Whenever you are extracting 1000 on fly itself in fraction of second, means less than second, within that time itself, the HANA database server has total you aggregated the figure, and then that total it will give you in the output. It no need to make it ready every day the totals and update in certain table, and for that you have ABAP code and every time process it. The totals or aggregates will happen on demand, on fly, in sub-second, within less time. So this is the difference between your traditional database and HANA database with respect to data modeling. So here you have aggregation table. For that we need to calculate, we need to join, we need to filter, and to do these all the things we have so much code. Your application, for example, to do your business process, the application code is required 1000 lines of code. On top of that, to maintain this aggregation table, to maintain index table, all these things, maybe again you need some 5000 lines of code, but actual code is 1000, but to maintain all these table you are having 5000 line of code. So in this way your traditional database is managing at present. But if you go to HANA database, the filter or joins or aggregation or calculations, that is not happening at application server level. Whenever you are extracting data from the database on fly in sub-second, the aggregations will happen. The total will be done by whom? By the database server. Here you see, this is the database server, this is the application server. Application server is taking responsibility to make the aggregates, to make the totals. At application server level that is happening. But if you go to HANA database, at a database server level that totals are happening. Application server is not doing anything. That everything is done by database server itself within fraction of second, whenever you ask to. So complete this portion. Now whatever we are doing, this load is reduced from the application server and that is moved to the database server. Means the work you reduced for application server, that work has given to the database server. So with this you can say in HANA database, the code, because of data modeling, your real application code, the real business processing code has been reduced drastically. Significantly it is changed. That's why SAP has changed complete data modeling in the HANA database server. But the same thing you don't get in the traditional database. Okay. And another thing, SAP is using in HANA database column tables. Means it is storing the data, or it is using the approach column store approach. Whenever you have a table, if you open, there is a two options you have. One is a row based table or row store approach, and second one is column store approach, or you can say row based tables, and this is column based tables. In traditional database, at present whatever we have, that most of the tables, we cannot say that traditional database is not using completely column based table. It is using row as well as column both, but row based tables are more and column based table is very less. If you go to HANA database, here it is opposite. Your row based tables are less and column based tables are more. Okay. So What is the difference or advantage you will get column based table? If it is a column based table, the data fetching from the table will happen very efficiently. In less time you can extract more data. That's why SAP is following column based table. With this reason also, you can fetch the data from the HANA database within less time and process it and send it. With this, at the end, the advantage is performance has been improved drastically. And what is the difference exactly how it will work? If it is a raw based, sorry, if it is a row based, how the fetching will happen. If it is a column based, how this fetching happen. This we can see later with the example. So at present, we can understand that in traditional database we have more row based tables and column based table is less, but in HANA database row based tables are less and column based tables are more. SAP is using, and with this SAP is fetching the data from the database tables in less time, more data, and that is leading to performance improvement. And one more thing is the data compression. By default, what SAP is doing whenever it is storing data, it is compressing the data. Like you can say example to understand, we have a zip. Whenever you are sending some file, if it is more data, and what you are doing zip and sending it. Whenever you zip, the data is compressed, right? And then it will have less size, and then you can easily send it. The same thing here. Whenever you are storing data, whenever you post a data, and in traditional database it is going and storing in your database table. But here, because of this column store database and because of this simplified data modeling and some other reasons, by using this as an advantage, what SAP is doing by default every time while storing data, it will compress because of your column based table. So later I will explain what is this. So at present, the data compression is happening because of your column database, or by using column database, I am able to compress my data more. And while storing itself in the HANA database server, data is compressed. That means instead of taking it is more memory, it will take less. So your server is not occupied with complete data. You have less data in HANA database server. That means, for example, you are using traditional database and you posted some business transactions and you went and see your server has occupied with 10 GB, 10 GB data you have. Same data I posted in HANA database. Same transaction, no difference. Whatever I posted here, same here I posted. But here maybe I can see only 5 GB database. If I extract same report, whatever it is getting, here also I am getting. But here it occupied 10 GB, but here it occupied only 5 GB. So I need to maintain more server, more capacity server. So cost will be reduced for the business organization. So at the end with this, all these reasons, what you can say here 10 GB data, same 10 GB data, here it is occupied only in 5 GB. That means data footprint, this is called. Means whenever you put your foot with wet, you will get print, right? Or maybe if you put your hand, some thumb impression, the print. So like that we are SAP is using, saying that data footprint means here same data is occupied 10 GB, 10 GB data you have, but here only 5 GB. Data footprint is very less if you go for database, HANA database server. Not only this column database, not only with the data compression, because of your data modeling, you are not maintaining aggregate table, you are not maintaining index tables, you are not maintaining on top of again one more index table. So automatically your data footprint has been reduced here itself. Again with column data tables, some more data has been reduced. Again you are doing compressing the data, again it is reduced. So with this all feature, at the end what happened, your data footprint drastically has been reduced in the HANA database server. This is one of the feature or advantage if you follow the HANA database server. So this also will tell same which we discussed, because of using multi-core processor, the parallel processing of data will happen, and also this column based tables will help for this parallel processing, and you have multi-core processor. This is one processor, this is another processor, this is another processor. Different way, horizontal and vertically, complete processing is happening with the same data, and to process in less time more data. Okay, another feature is data temperature. Temperatures. So here conceptually or theoretically, your data is divided into three parts. One is hot data, one is warm data, and one is cold data. So really, if you go and touch, it doesn't hot and warm cold, but it is a theoretically, conceptually. The data, for example, in 5 GB, you have here 10 GB. This 5 GB data, HANA database, what it is doing, it is dividing into three parts: hot data, warm data, cold data. The hot data means what? Frequently you are accessing this data again and again. Maybe today you executed one report, tomorrow you will execute like that. Every time the data you are extracting in the form of reports or in the form of anything, that means it is storing somewhere, not somewhere, means your database server is stored, and then again and again you are fetching frequently. Then that data we will call it as a hot data. Some data you will less frequently, not every day, not monthly, maybe 6 months once or 5 months once, like that you will execute, or you want it to. You are taking from the database server and you are seeing in the output. So less frequently, that is called warm data. And you don't want 1 year or 2 year, maybe whenever the auditors will come for finance point of view, at that time only I will extract and show you to for legal purpose. Otherwise I don't show, I don't extract it. But we don't know when they will ask you. So keep it somewhere in the database. We don't know when they will ask. So very less or rarely or one time or only sometimes I need this data. So that type of data is called cold data. And based on this category, the SAP HANA database server will decide automatically, or the basis guy can decide, can do something where the hot data need to be stored, how it should be stored, what about warm data, what about cold data. Generally, what will happen? If you see this diagram, we told there is a CPU, there is a cache memory, this is a main memory. Same here, CPU, cache memory, and your disk, main memory. The hot data and warm data will store in the cache memory. I told you 2-3 years of data will store here. Okay, 1 year you processed the data, that is stored in the cache memory. 2 years you stored in the cache memory. Third year you processed it and the data is stored in the cache memory. Then fourth year you processed it. Then the data should go to main memory. Again, like traditional database, from main memory it should come to cache memory. From that CPU, again same late will happen. So here what HANA database will do, this data, HANA database will divide into three parts: hot, warm, and cold. Hot data and warm data it will keep here only. If it is a cold data, that will be sent to the disk. For example, whenever you are in fourth year, the first year data I don't want. Generally, current year data you are extracting and last year data you are extracting. The 2 years back data we don't want. We need, but we don't know sometimes, very rarely. So that data will be sent to the disk and remaining data will kept here. That means most of the time, whenever you are accessing the data, that is stored in the cache memory itself. So conceptual wise, the hot data and warm data is stored in the cache memory. Cold data will be stored in the disk, the main memory. Okay, this is an additional reason why your performance is good in the HANA database server. How many years of data we can call it as a cold data? So that maybe technically the basis guy can do settings accordingly, you can do it. So that's technical thing. But for us, this is the conceptual wise. Okay, so these are the HANA database features. Maybe next tomorrow we can discuss about what is S4 HANA Enterprise Management, what are the finance evolution, how it come, deployment options, and further thing. Within this, if you have any doubt, maybe now you can ask the questions. Do you have any questions? Then you are free to ask.
Sir, you're going to cover now end to end, right?
Yes.
On S4HANA.
End to end means,
Like new, like if anyone want to do the new implementation on S4HANA, I mean, who doesn't have the ECC knowledge?
yeah, okay. So that part I will explain as part of deployment options. Like we
Hmm.
have greenfield implementation, brownfield implementation. Yes, that we will cover. Like whenever we entered into the system,
Okay,
from starting step, nothing is there in the system. So from scratch, you create company code. So each and every step we will create and go and do complete all steps.
okay. So what about the practice and all?
The practice and all, so this we need to take as a remote desktop connection, and
Hmm.
I took from one of the vendor the current version, that is 2020 latest version.
Hmm.
Maybe if you want the same number, I will pass to you guys. If you want, you can take the same from him. It's monthly charged, or maybe if you want, you can take from outside. Your choice. But whatever I
Okay,
took, that I can pass to you that number. You can check with that guy.
okay, sure.
It's a remote desktop connection, so we need to pay monthly, and through remote desktop, you need to log in, and then you can practice.
So how he is charging, sir? Like, do we need to contact him?
Maybe monthly 1500 something or 1200.
Okay, fine.
It
You can
maybe
post the
you
number
guys
here.
all may take with the same guy. Maybe you
Hmm.
as a group you can discuss or negotiate with that guy, and you can take all at one place. You may get less cost, I think, like that.
Okay. So is there any chance to create a WhatsApp group for no, as a group so that we will be having the notifications from you?
Mm, from me, notifications you can expect through mail.
Okay.
Maybe if you want, you guys can take anyone lead, and you guys can create as a one WhatsApp group.
Okay. Got you, sir. That's all from my side.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Hi, Navneet here. So regarding the notes and also like the normal way you will be telling us we have to write it down in the deployment stage that whenever you are doing the actual practice and creation and all.
Yeah, so right. So this is one of the drawback because of our online class. If it is regular class, we could have given notes and we have to write it right. So for that, yes, we have workaround. What we will do, uh, same way like regular class, the methodology we will follow. I'll do one by one step. But regarding the notes, whatever you are writing, whatever I am explaining in your physical hard copy note, that I will prepare in the Excel sheet and I will send it to you.
Okay.
Like parts
So,
and this first I will send it to you for practice purpose. The practice you can
okay.
do it, and for immediate purpose, for example, this sheet will help you. This I can say it's like rough notes, or this
Okay.
online sheet. This I will send it pass
Okay.
frequently, and then give me some time. So this I will put in a proper format and with complete like notes how I am giving you in the class. In
Okay.
that way, the same I will write in the Excel that I will send it to you.
Okay. So no need to take the note. If you want, we can take the running note.
Yeah, running
Otherwise
notes you
the
can take for
okay.
temporary purpose or for your understanding in your own terminology you can write it. And
Okay.
from my
And the
side
other
I will send. But suppose if I complete today, immediately today I cannot send. Whenever I get
okay.
time, I will prepare and send it to you.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's from my side.
Okay. Any other question? Yeah. Other questions. If you don't have, then we can close it. Tomorrow we'll meet. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.